People think you can't bake with margarine, so they use butter, which is high in unhealthy saturated fat. But you can bake with margarine, making a much healthier cake, which means that you can enjoy a slice of moist cake every now and again. This cake here is made with butter, and it's filled with jam and cream and high in saturated fat, 15 grams of saturated fat, and there's nothing else of any good in it. So let's swap that for this. A moist banana cake with a cream cheese icing, which compared to the cream cake has a fraction of the saturated fat and some extra nutrients from the wholemeal flour and the bananas. And it's very easy to make, so preheat the oven to 180 degrees and then with a loaf tin just give it a brush with some oil and then line it with some baking paper. So pop that aside and take a bowl with a sieve and start by sifting your flour. So I've got 125 grams of wholemeal flour, 125 grams of white plain flour, both plain. Add to that 1 teaspoon of bicarb of soda and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now give that a sift. And the reason you're using white and wholemeal is that wholemeal on its own will be too dry and white on its own has no extra fibre, so a balance of the two is great. So now set that aside and get another mixing bowl, and to that you're going to add 125 grams of TIC-approved margarine that's suitable for baking. So pop that into the bowl, and then to that a cup of raw caster sugar, and cream these two ingredients together. Now you can see that's soft and creamy, so set the beater aside and peel your bananas. These are nice and ripe, and even if they're black, they're fine to use. It's a good way of using up bananas that are overripe. And use a potato masher to mash the bananas. Now that mashed, add that to the creamed margarine and sugar, and to that add 2 eggs and 3 drops of natural vanilla essence. And beat that together. Now add half the flour mixture, and I've got here half a cup of buttermilk. Just add 1/4 of a cup to start with. Beat that in. And when that's mixed in, add the rest of the flour and buttermilk and beat that. And now this is ready to go into the baking pan. This is ready to go into the oven for between 45 minutes to an hour. It's been 45 minutes, so I'm just going to check it with a skewer. Now that's still wet and sticky, so I'll just put it back in for another 10 to 15 minutes. Now you can serve this on its own as a delicious morning or afternoon tea without icing, but for a decadent dessert, you can cover it with a lovely light cream cheese icing. Light cream cheese because it has less saturated fat. I'm using 125 grams of cream cheese here. Just pop that into a bowl with 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 20 grams of icing sugar, and a teaspoon of natural vanilla essence. And then using your blender again, just mix it up till it's smooth. And now we can ice the cake. Now don't try and do this until the cake is completely cold, otherwise the icing will just slip off. So add the icing to the cake, and finally, for a little bit of decoration, some lemon zest. And how about that? Cake should still only be enjoyed occasionally, but when you cook with healthier fats, it means that you can enjoy a sweet treat with less saturated fat and kilojoules.